Welcome everyone, this is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage, and today I am showing you yet another procedure or a demonstration of how to use your white rotary, also known as Kenmore rotary, Dressmaster rotary, Franklin rotary. Now, like most machines, this machine has a bobbin winding device, and I wanted to demonstrate how it's wound. It's actually a lot simpler than even threading the machine. But I wanted to show it to all of you, particularly if you are new to the machine. You may think, well gosh, I got a bobbin winder here, how do I use it? And of course the manual will show you with a drawing how to use it, but I thought some of you might find this helpful to watch it being wound on video. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get one of my rotary bobbins. As you guys know, these machines take what are called rotary bobbins, and they hold a good amount of thread. They are not difficult to find. I highly recommend that you choose or look for vintage metal rotary bobbins, because the vintage bobbins are, believe it or not, they are made better, and they're very inexpensive. They're not that difficult to find. You can find them at places like Etsy or eBay and other places, but be sure to specify vintage. Your machine will appreciate it. Some of you may have used new metal reproduction bobbins, and if they have worked fine for you, that's fantastic. But my go-to with vintage machines is always to use vintage era bobbins. Now, I'm going to, let's zoom in here for you guys and give you a little bit closer view here. I'm going to take the bobbin, I'm going to put it on the bobbin winding pin, I guess you'd call it, for lack of a better word. Oh, by the way, note that there is a hole in the side of the bobbin. If yours has the hole, it makes it a little bit easier. You can still use the bobbin if you don't. Now, I don't know if you guys remember when I was telling you about testing bobbins, this may be the pin that is off kilter, or it could be that the bobbin itself is not true. So I'm going to get myself another one and see if it does any different. Remember, if your bobbin is not straight, if it's warped, oh yeah, that's much better. If your bobbin is warped, it can create, not always, but it has the potential to create issues for you when you are sewing. It can interfere with the machine's ability to form a stitch. It can interfere with tension, for example, in your bobbin area. Now, this particular bobbin I just used does not have a hole, so I'll show you. You know, your manual will tell you to bring your thread down and from the inside go through the hole, but there's another method we'll use here. It's not a big deal. Now, I'm going to take remember there are two spool pins on top of the rotaries. The first one over to the left, that's actually your top sewing thread. Over here, the second spool is there for you to wind a bobbin. Now, what you're going to do, let's see if I can zoom in a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to change the angle of the camera. I want you guys to see it from the very front. Okay, from another angle. So I'm going to take my bobbin thread, the thread I'm going to use to wind with, and I'm going to come over and you'll see a thread guide that sits with there's kind of like a little disc up here, and I'm going to come over here. So your manual will say go right to left to right. That means coming off of your pin, and then you're going to take your thread and you're going to come back to the left, and you're going to have the thread sitting there in what is essentially a little disc area for the thread to ride in. Now, of course, just like with any other machine, I'm going to hold my hand wheel and I'm going to pull the clutch knob toward me just until it loosens, because remember, you have to disengage this. When you turn your clutch, that disengages the drive shaft so your needle doesn't go around bobbing up and down. Now, normally, if you had one of these bobbins with a hole, you would have gone from the middle of the bobbin and then it would come out. Since I don't have that, there's another technique I can use, and that means I'm going to just kind of take the thread and start to wind around a little bit, just a couple of loops around the bobbin to get it started. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to do is I'm going to take the lever, and as you'll remember, all of the rotaries and even the white machines that came afterwards, in the 60s, many of them used this lever below. So I'm going to push up, and now you'll see the bobbin tire engaging the hand wheel. And of course, remember, these hand wheels on the rotaries, they rotate away from you, not towards you like most sewing machines. Now, just make sure I've got my power on. I don't need the light. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start applying with the knee lever that this machine has. And let's see if she's... Watch your thread when you're first getting started. I'm going to actually... I'm going to give myself a little bit more starting space. And again, those of you who have the little hole in the side of the bobbin, you may find it a little bit faster to do, but none of this is really tough, right? So I want to make sure that my thread is going around and getting started without getting caught on anything else. And kind of hold yourself a medium tension, you know, because if you make the thread a little too loose in your hand, you won't have it started on the bobbin enough. And I may even, in fact, one thing I can do, I can keep coming around, and when the end of the tail there on the thread gets a little short, I may just hold on to it when as I start to wind it until it gets going. And there it goes. And you guys will notice, I'll zoom in for you, you will notice that one of the things I'm doing here is I'm basically doing this at a moderate speed. I could floor it, but if you go too quickly, you may end up over tightening the thread on your bobbin, and you don't want to do that. Now that sound that you hear, let's see if I can angle up for you just a bit. You're seeing the bobbin, and of course, modern thread spools are plastic, and so they don't weigh much, right? And so that's one of the reasons you want those little felt washers there, because otherwise, it can run away. People have been known to have thread spools just go flying because they bounce. Now, as we start getting the bobbin to be full, notice that this particular bobbin, we'll see, normally if the machine is set, sometimes it will automatically, there it went. It automatically stopped because there's a setting here, there's an adjustment on the machine. Mine is set properly. And you'll notice that this little piece here was pushing against the bobbin, and as it filled with thread, it eventually, basically, this is an old school way of the machine telling itself, oh, I need to stop winding now, or I'm going to end up with more thread than I have bobbin space for on the rim. You don't want the thread to come beyond the rim level, because that can create issues with sewing when you put this bobbin into your bobbin case. Now, as I mentioned to many of you before, you always want to watch this, because some machines, this is not a digital level control. So if for some reason your machine is not quite behaving the way you want it, you can simply watch it and you can stop it when it gets to a certain point. And now that I've done that, for basically the bobbin is wound. Now, so I'm simply going to cut the thread of my newly wound bobbin. I've already disengaged my lever, and I have some really nice pink, I believe this is either cotton or silk. I typically use both. This is actually silk. I use silk. I like the strength of silk thread. It's not really that much more money than cotton thread, and it can be a good substitute if you've been used to using polyester and you want maybe a strong thread alternative, something more of a natural material. Now, of course, even though the bobbin winder, you'll notice that I've disengaged it, of course, and I can take, let's zoom back out. I can take off my bobbin thread. I'm done with that. Remember to hold the hand wheel and snug the clutch knob forward. It doesn't take much, really, because you haven't loosened it that much. And of course, if you look over, you'll see now the needle is moving when I move the hand wheel. So you're done winding a bobbin, and for those of you who now are thinking about, okay, I want to get the bobbin case wound, remember I have another video where you will see me doing that when I show the threading of the rotary machine. You'll see how I threaded the bobbin case. So that's it, guys. This bobbin winder is just as simple to use as any other. I have never found it to be of any particular challenge to use once you know how it's used. And hopefully this pink silk thread showed up for you against the green background. But again, check out the other videos on the rotary. I think I did the threading of the bobbin case with the other video where I show how to thread the machine. And if any of you have any other stories you want to share about your rotary machines, please do so in the comments section. And any questions about your bobbin winder on your rotary machine, just let us know. They're in the comments. And I did this video. I am slowly but surely finishing up videos on this machine, and I have another one dealing with the tension assembly, and then of course the final video will be when I share with you all how this machine stitches, and hopefully the machine is going to reward me for all of the effort and time I have invested. But the old rotaries are indeed heirloom quality. They are all steel and tough as nails. Anyway, I appreciate all of you watching, and if you have not subscribed to my channel, please feel free to do so. And if you click on the little bell symbol, it will notify you when a new video has been posted. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video series as I finish up that on this rotary machine. Thank you.